Hi everyone. I thought I would try another short video. I really appreciate the feedback on the last one and the encouragement. A couple of my friends shared that they felt I was still very controlled and a bit too careful with my words. And hearing that, my goal with these videos is to try to be more natural, be more conversation-like as I'm speaking, as if I was speaking to someone one-on-one. And at the same time, I recognize when I'm creating something that a number of people will listen to, I, I don't feel bad about editing or being a little bit careful with what I say. So last time I shared a little bit about this difficulty and challenge between speaking up and at the risk of belonging to a group. And I feel after going through that process and sitting with it for a while and considering it, the answer for me is really clear that speaking up, staying true to myself is really the only solution. Fitting in, remaining silent to fit in, or going along with something in order to not be outcast or judged by others, like it doesn't work in the long run. And I know some people in the current climate that they can't speak up because they may lose their job or not receive the funding they need for their projects, and they need this to support their families. And this is a very difficult situation that I really feel for the people that are in it. And I mean, I'll just say I know for myself, like once you start down that road of either saying something you know not to be true, or going along with something, being complicit with something you don't believe in, this leads to a bit of hypocrisy that I think over time can be really painful. And I know, at least for me, that's something I try to avoid. And I know hypocrisy is a really interesting term because I feel, if I'm really honest with myself, I do a lot of things that one could call hypocritical, and I see it in others. And I think it's less about trying not to be avoid all hypocrisy, but trying to limit as much as possible, and just call it out when it's seen in ourselves and in our close friends. So to finish up on the last thread with the last video, I have yet to actually speak to any of the individuals that I contacted, mostly just due to schedules and the holiday weekend. And but the response was pretty positive, in the sense of a couple people thanked me for my courage and looked forward to having a conversation with me, which I am. I can only say the only collateral damage I see at this point is the wife of one of the people defriended me on Facebook, and I thought that was really interesting timing. And I guess for me, if my friendship depends on a certain political ideology, that's not really a friendship that I want to have. And that's something I've also been contemplating a lot recently, mostly because a lot of my friends and people close to me in my life, I share a lot of values with, an outlook. I mean, most values, I would say. And what I've noticed in the last few years, a few of my values have shifted pretty significantly. And this has created a kind of gap with some of my friendships that has been called out from my side or the other side. And it's been difficult because it's like, how is it that with people that I've known and loved and cared for so many years, like I agree with so many things, and then on these one or two issues, I see things so vastly differently. And I think there's this fear that could potentially end friendships. And from my side, the friendship isn't based necessarily on those differing views, and I really invite conversations in these spaces that are difficult, because I notice this is where I'm learning a lot. And like I really want to. The reason I wrote that letter to that group of people is because I really want to understand what is it that led them to write something like that. Like, how did it's like epistemology? Like, why do you think a certain way? What led you to those thoughts? And in my one-on-one friendships, it's the same thing. And when people challenge me, I'm invited to go through that process myself. And in general, I find I really gain a lot of respect and love for people. And when we do this, especially if we have the time and space to do it carefully and depersonalize it, and it can be it's extremely uncomfortable at times. But I don't know. I don't see really another way to go about it. And what I see today with a lot of people is that they live in a kind of echo chamber, and the echo chamber being, let's take people with quite progressive views, for example. They only read the New York Times and the Huffington Post and CNN and talk to people with exactly the same views as them. And that has this effect of kind of reinforcing certain things and not questioning them, and very easily going along with a certain narrative. And I know for myself, something that's been really helpful in these difficult political times has been to find sources on different political sides. Like I watch Tucker Carlson on Fox News. I read some of the conservative journals. I also read the New York Times, Washington Post, and Vox, and the more liberal things. And then I decide for myself what I believe, and I don't believe I can be pinned to a certain political ideology. It really depends on the issue, and it takes a critical thinking. It takes an effort. And I've had 5 months of laying in my basement with YouTube. So I've had a lot of time to do these things, and I'm grateful for it. And I realize if I had a job and a family and a responsibility, it'd be much harder to discern what's going on out there. And this is something I hope to speak about more going forward. This how do we sense make in this climate of clickbait headlines and strong narratives coming from different political camps and so on. And how do we speak to our friends and family and strangers about difficult issues? Like I'm really, really passionate about this, and I want to explore it and unpack it for myself, and I hope to also share it with those of you that want to listen. And I see here that I'm on the edge of a political space, and I'm really hesitant to step into it, because from their judgments and labels and potential conflicts may arise. And I think that in many ways that's a real shame, as I was saying a few minutes ago. For me, anyone who's listening who considers themselves my friend, I can say your views, your opinions are really welcome, and my friendship or my feelings towards you will not change based on differing views. So I'm going to walk that edge for a little while. I am a little hesitant to become too political. And yeah, I think that's all I want to say about that. And I'll switch topics for the last minute, which is that I am down in Crestone, Colorado for a few days. And this has been the first time I've had the opportunity to leave my house since December, actually. I mean, I've left my house, but I haven't slept anywhere else or been out of Boulder. And Crestone is a very small city. City is a small village in southern Colorado that I've been coming to for years because of my affiliation with Crestone Mountain Zen Center, Zen Buddhist monastery. At the moment, I'm not able to go to the monastery because of the COVID restrictions, but I'm staying with some close friends who live down in the village, and it's just been a real treat to come down here and be in this quiet and this still environment. It's this massive valley with incredible views of mountains and three sides, and just has an energy like nowhere else I've ever been. I really appreciate and value my friends here, Mark and Ann, who are hosting me. They're longtime Sangha family, and we always have really rich conversations and actually just silent time living and practicing together. So that feels really good. And when I set my last video update, I was in a really low place, coming right out of chemotherapy. My emotions and my physical health were one of the lowest points I've experienced in this whole journey, and I can feel myself coming out of that slowly every day. There's like a little bit more energy. It's still pretty low, but I'm moving in the right direction, and yeah, I'm in a pretty good mood today and feeling very, very alive. So thank you for listening. I guess that message covered two topics, and soon I'll say more about my health and what's ahead, and hopefully, if I continue to have the courage, I'll speak about this this sense making and maintaining relationships and care for each other in this divisive time. Okay, thanks for listening.